Books have always played an important part of my life, but as a dyslexic in a time when dyslexia wasn't recognised, I found reading extremely difficult. So I tend to choose books that were easy to read, and I found the easiest reading the Blyton. So I became a huge reader of the Famous Five and the adventure series, the Island of Adventure, the Castle of Adventure.
Books have always been really important to me. Some of my earliest memories are being read to as a kid by my mum used to fuel me with Roald Dahl books, and my granddad used to fuel me with Spike Milligan's Silly Verse for Kids.
Books are really important, we all know that, and I think we are becoming better at reading because there's such a variety out there for people to read.
My two favourite Nottingham writers are Sillitoe and Lawrence, because they were both rebels and they both wrote about what I understood and from a working class point of view.
One of the other big influences in my life in terms of a novelist is D.H. Lawrence. But interestingly, of course, Lawrence was a playwright as well. He was a great playwright, he was a great short story writer, he was a magnificent poet. And I think that the thing that just unites all of his work is kind of emotion and passion and humour as well. And I've adapted Women in Love and The Rainbow, and actually used the novella The Trespasser as a kind of as the glue that kind of went through those two novels.
There are many Nottingham writers that I enjoy reading who have just recently been introduced to, and that includes people like Paula Rosthern and John Harvey. However, my favourite remains Lord Byron, because I grew up with him and I can still recite his poems by heart that I learned in school.
One of my favourite places in Nottingham is Bromley House Library. I only recently discovered it existed last year. It's this tiny, it's not tiny, it's tucked away in the middle of town. I never even knew it existed.
My second place would be Woollerton Park, or known as Woollerton Hall, where they filmed Batman. But for me, it's purely down to the memories that it holds. Going there as a kid, going there now. I've quite a very emotional attachment to it, and I actually grew up in Woollerton, so it was on my doorstep.
I would also include Notts County, the oldest football club in England, walking to Meadow Lane, where I think the original centre-back is still playing.
Not only does Nottingham have this great literary history and contemporary scene, but so does cities like Calcutta and Delhi in India, and bringing these together will do exactly what we want a city of literature to do, and that is to build a better world with words.
I hope that the honour of having the UNESCO City of Literature will encourage people to get involved. I started to write because I read Sillitoe and I believed I was him and he was me, and there was no reason for me not to do it. And I'm hoping that the people of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire will look at this award and think to themselves, yeah, why shouldn't they get involved?
And yeah, in terms of opportunities, I'm not too sure what it's going to bring, but I mean, I'm excited about it. As long as there's more figures being brought here and seeing what's going off, it's great.
I've always found Nottingham to be vibrant, interesting, but most of all, rebellious, and I hope it never loses that streak.